Hello, this is the I Don't Know What I'm Talking About podcast, and this is a Sun versus Storm podcast, and to finish out to make the podcast a reasonably long podcast, I'm also going to talk about Wimbledon, Olivier Tarvet, the guy who won a singles match in Wimbledon, who was like the 733rd ranked player in the world, and also going to talk about how deep is professional tennis. So first of all, this is mostly a reaction to the Sun versus Storm game, and I enjoyed watching it. I thought the Sun were going to win throughout the first half and maybe even parts of the second. They got their two key players were Tina Charles and Sanaya Rivers that really were able to draw to and get shots for themselves some. Honestly, they don't have a lot else offensively, and I know Seattle just picked up a player yesterday, so I know I wouldn't think the trade deadline has happened. Yet. So maybe the Sun need to pick up another player or something. Or maybe they're a young team and they're just trying to let their players develop. I don't really know the age of their players. I know Sanaya Rivers is probably like one of their top 3 players and one of their top 2 offensively, and she's a rookie, so that's good. But Tina Charles carries a heavy load for the team, and she is 36 years old. Passed 8,000 points today. Really had a good game. 10 for 10 for the free throw line. Didn't shoot a high percentage, but they really just didn't have a lot of options to go to. That could get their own shot off, have another defender come and double. Their offense ran through Tina Charles and Sanaya Rivers, and mainly Tina Charles. I think Olivia Nelson-Ododa is a really good player, and they might should use her more. She's very, very physical. She moves around well. She's athletic. And it seems like you might could use her as a post-up opportunities. A lot of the time, they just kind of dump it off and have her make layups. But I don't know. She seems strong. I didn't really see her do it, but she didn't really get a lot of opportunities, like to post up from the block or something. She was posting up, or at least try to get her some deep post touches where she doesn't have to make a real post move, but they just have so much pressure on Tina Charles and Sanaya Rivers, and I just started watching the WNBA last year, so I didn't really see Tina Charles in her prime, but I'm sure she's not the player she used to be. She still does really well, but she has a lot to carry as far as responsibility with this team. So I don't know. Yeah, it's the Sun. I mean, they're 3-17. I think they said they just beat them Wednesday, and I thought they would beat them again, but they didn't. Seattle Storm came back. They had a lot of athleticism over there with Izzy Magbagor. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but her and Agwumake, and they're a good defensive team. And, they just ended up coming back and taking the lead and winning. I think Agwumake and tonight their new player, Tiffany Mitchell, and Zaya Cook, when she didn't get a lot of playing time, but while she was in, they do a lot as far as penetrating and getting inside and drawing to and finishing. I know Zaya Cook they said like the past 3 games she hadn't scored and she's been struggling lately, so that's probably why they didn't play her much. And Tiffany Mitchell's a newcomer, and she was playing amazing. So I guess that's why they didn't play Zaya Cook that much. But I thought she did. She really penetrated the ball well when she was in there. And Neke Ogumake, she played a really good game. At first she was struggling shooting the ball, but she finished 5 for 12, which isn't that bad while shooting 5 threes, 4 free throws. She was one of the best penetrators, drawing two, kicking it out. She was finishing at the rim well. She was athletic on defense, and she had a good game. And Tiffany Mitchell looked incredible. I mean, some of the way that she was getting to the paint, and she's strong. She's a good defender. Her ball pressure is really good, and I think they can. She can really help them out in the WNBA season and possibly winning a title. I haven't seen all the teams, so I don't know exactly where they stand, but I think they got a good team, and she's a great piece that they got. Gabby Williams did good. She played 38 minutes, so she almost played the whole game. 18 points, 5 assists. Got out in transition. Got downhill some. Skylar Diggins she was in foul trouble. She was a little on edge today at her bench and other players, and I don't know, at the end of the game where Bria Hartley had the 2 hard fouls. And to me, and this is probably controversial, I think Bria Hartley got a bad rap. I know how they call it now. Those are going to be, and one wasn't called a flagrant, but I mean, they weren't nothing crazy to me, honestly. I mean, the first one, yeah, it was hard, but if it's just a one-time thing, yeah, I don't see the problem with keep just moving on. But the second one, I know she came down around her shoulder / head neck area, but she got ball first. I don't think it was intentional. I think she was going for the ball. I know the announcer said she stared her down, and she did. But I think there's a difference between like not caring that she fouled hard and intentionally trying to have a hard, egregious foul. I mean, she got all ball first and then came down, so I thought she got a little bit of a bad rap. She probably should have went and helped her up, but and she probably shouldn't have fouled that hard the first time. But I don't know why. I just think they call it too tight with that stuff. But I understand they don't want people getting hurt and all that. But I don't know. Skylar Diggins was a little on edge, but she shot the ball really well. Played good defense. She fouled. I mean, I know that last foul, because they had the foul where she challenged it and they overturned it. And I think they made the right decision. But, then, right after that, she gets screened, doesn't get over the screen, and then she just grabs the the roller. And it's like, that's a foul. So, but I mean, she still had a good game. I think she plays on edge, but I think her team, I don't think it really affects the team. I think there's some situations where you have people that can be a nuisance to the team, and I mean, I'm sure it affects them some, but some people, I think it seriously affects their team and brings down the team. I don't think it really affects the team. I think she just has a energetic attitude, and honestly, I've never seen her that energetic, but they all seemed cool about it, and like they were behind her, and so I think they got a good team, good chemistry, seems like a good coach. Seems like she knows what she's doing, and seems like she holds them accountable. I know the announcer said, she doesn't want people, saying challenge this, like when Skylar Diggins told her to challenge a call. She says if you tell me to challenge something, you better be right. So yeah, I think I think if they have times where they struggle to get penetration and get open shots, which I think they do, I think that's probably one of Seattle Storm's weaknesses in some sense. I think they always had Lexi Brown. I don't think she's a bad player. I think she's very capable. I know she's kind of buried on the bench, but you know, anyways, Connecticut needs a lot of work. They just need more offensive options, honestly. But Sanaya Rivers is getting a lot of opportunity to be a good player and get her shots and just have the ball a lot. So that'll help her. But it was a good game. Connecticut basically had it the first half, and then through the second half, maybe right before the third quarter, Seattle Storm took over, and then they expanded it in the fourth. So it was a good game. Really enjoyed watching. Okay. Second is Wimbledon. And I haven't been watching Wimbledon as much as I watched the French Open or the Australian or the US Open this year. But I've watched a good. I watched some of it. And honestly, it's probably my favorite major. I just like the grass. And I like how at Wimbledon, I think someone told me that someone said on the announcers that the ball doesn't bounce as high at Wimbledon. I think that grass almost deadens the ball in a sense, so it takes a lot of people's power away. And I think it's really interesting because it's so much different than the clay and the hard court to me. Because it's like these power hitters, it's harder for them to dominate. It's a lot more about placement and hitting it where the opponent's not. Because you're not going to be able to just power it as much, and the ball's just gonna like hit the ground so hard that it's just gonna bounce up and it's gonna be hard to hit. Your placement has to be really well, and it's more about that to me than just being able to hit it so hard. I think Siegman, I didn't watch that match, but I've seen her play before, and I know her placement's really well, and her just shot creativity and just hitting the ball where the opponent's not is really good. And I think maybe that's a reason why she had success at this tournament. Because she has some power, but she's not really a power person. And, at Wimbledon, maybe that helps her. Because it's less about power and just hitting it so hard that the player can't hit it. You really got to have placement. You got to hit it away from them. And she covers the court well, and she probably thrived. I didn't watch that match, but yeah, I really like Wimbledon. Enjoy Wimbledon, and I know you got Iga. And she's gonna face the American. I know she's 13th ranked, or seeded, but I don't even know her name. Honestly, I haven't watched her yet this tournament, but yeah, that's really good that an American's made the final for the third major in a row. And we got Alcaraz in center again. I'm sure that'll be a great match. That last match was in the French Open was probably, and I didn't watch all of it, but I watched, I want to say from the third set, either the third or the fourth. Started watching the set that Alcaraz was down to match point. And or maybe even the set before that, but yeah, that was, even though I didn't see the whole thing, from what I saw, that's probably the greatest match I've ever seen. I would probably take Alcaraz tomorrow. I know Fritz played him better than Djokovic played Sinner. Even though I think Alcaraz, he plays with his food a little more than Sinner does. Not that Fritz is great, but um, I think that's part of it. But yeah, I'm sure that'll be a great match tomorrow. Um, so I guess the next is Olivier Tarvet or Tarvet. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but he was the 733rd player, and he entered Wimbledon qualifiers. I think they said, I don't know if I read this or heard the announcers say it, but he didn't know he was gonna if he was gonna even be a qualifier, I think. But he just came over to London just in case, and they let him or like enter the qualifying rounds. He didn't even know if he was gonna enter the qualifying rounds, if they were gonna choose him. But he came over to um England anyways, and or UK or Wimbledon area, and he practiced for it anyways, and they let him be a qualifying contender or whatever, and he won his 3 matches. He got into the real tournament and won a game, and then he didn't do terrible against Alcaraz. Honestly, he did better than a lot of people. He lost his first set 6-1, but then he it was 6-4, 6-4 Alcaraz. I mean, he has some size on him. He has some power. Even in Wimbledon, like I said, you can't see the power as much because the ball kind of deadens, but you could tell. I mean, he was hitting it hard. He moved around pretty well. I know they said he hadn't lost because he goes to San Diego. He's a college player at San Diego. I think he's either a junior or a senior. I think junior, and he's played pro matches too. And I think he hasn't lost a match, college or pro, since November. So he's 733rd ranked, which is crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a player play that's ranked that low. And he was good. He was ranked that low, but he was good. So I just, maybe he can be a good player. And, coming up, maybe he can get in some more tournaments and, get his ranking up, and maybe possibly not even have to go through the qualifiers. And I guess the next topic, from just seeing that, it just makes me wonder how deep is tennis. If you have the 733rd player coming in, and he's better than a lot of the players in the field, I would think. Won his first match, made it through the qualifiers. How many good players are there? Are there players that aren't making these tournaments that can beat a lot of these people? Are they getting the best people in? And I know it's tough because they're, obviously the best of the best are getting in. Sinner, Alcaraz, shown Fritz. But are they filling out the field with the best players? And I know that's not what it's all about, because it's about, most deserving and points. I would think. I don't know exactly how the tennis rankings and seedings all work, and I know they have qualifiers and wild cards getting into these tournaments. But it should be about who earned it most of the time, who gets a invite to go through the qualifying tournaments or be a wild card in a tournament. Which is right. I mean, you have those exceptions where, like I remember the first tennis tournament I really kept up with was the U.S. Open in 2022. And Serena Williams was in as a wild card. And, it didn't matter what tournament it was going to be. Whether Serena Williams had fallen off, to the point where she didn't, she wasn't doing enough points wise and tournaments wise to get in the U.S. Open. She was Serena Williams. So the U.S. Open let her in as a wild card, and that's fine. But for the most part, they let in who deserves to get in at these tournaments. But I just wonder if you have someone that good ranked 733, is there maybe ways um, to discover more talent and try to find ways to have them maybe eliminate the people ahead of them better? Like I know they have the ATP and I think the WTA championships, but maybe possibly, I don't know. Like I know the AAU system, it's different with team sports. But I feel like AAU, um, a lot of it is about exposure and probably too much. Kids are probably trying to get exposure so much and they're really not ready to get exposure. They should be focused on getting better. But, I think the way the system used to work, nationals was like the big thing. And, um, you have all these tournaments throughout the country, but if you qualify for D1 nationals, D2 nationals, D3 nationals, which is, I don't, honestly, it really wasn't, if you were a good enough team, you didn't even have to be good enough, honestly. There were tournaments you could go to and qualify for D1 nationals, D2 nationals, D3 nationals, and you might not have even been on that level. So it wasn't, like, if you should have been at D1 nationals, you had opportunities. So you go to these regional or whatever tournaments, and then you go to nationals. Well, it's like you go to nationals, and back then that was so big. That was probably like a big way for, scouts or whoever to kind of evaluate top players that they haven't seen. Because there is a way for these players to have an even level playing field, whether people knew about them or not, to ending up being discovered. I'm just trying to kind of compare it to maybe an idea in tennis, and maybe they already do this, I don't know. But maybe for lower level tennis players ish, lower ish level tennis players, like, I don't know, maybe exclude the top 40 or something players because they deserve to be at the tournaments. But maybe you could have nationals for the lower ranked players, and maybe you have all the pro tennis tournaments that they have around that could qualify you to go to these nationals. And maybe they could discover more tournaments that way, because it's then like you get everybody in all these countries playing tennis, and maybe that's just a way to for them to earn points in the ATP and WTA rankings and be able to qualify for these bigger tournaments that way. Because if they're kind of, I know they can work their way up through the challenger or whatever, but this guy hasn't lost a game since November, and he's seated, or he's ranked 733rd. I mean, it was really crazy. I don't know. I've just never seen a 733rd in the field. Like, it wasn't even sure that they were going to give him a qualifying spot, and he comes and he's more than ready. So I just wonder, how much is it of there's just a lack of opportunity to be able to get into these fields. So maybe if they have nationals or something like that, he could get into a field with all these people that are ahead of him. Where if he's going to all these lower level tournaments, maybe he's not playing a ton of people that are ahead of him. and he's not getting invited maybe to tournaments that are ahead of him as much as he would if there was a national system. But I don't know. It's just an idea. I really don't know a lot about tennis and the way their system works and all that at all. So I don't know if that makes any sense or not. But maybe there's just got to be some way to make it easier for someone like that to actually make a major. Or maybe it's just, maybe there's people everywhere just not losing games over the course of like 8 months or something like that. And they're just all around tennis. I mean, is tennis that deep that there are lower level players? Not because if he hasn't lost a game since November and it's July, that's yeah, it's 8 months. So I don't know. I mean, if anybody listens to this and knows more about tennis, your opinion is definitely more valid than mine. But it just seems like tennis is a tough sport to work your way up, and tennis is, I mean, it's just a tough sport in general. I know there's a YouTuber that's popular. I don't even remember his name, but he talked. I think he just said he got in the top 200, maybe 100. And he said tennis is tough because he played his first full year of pro tennis on the tour. I know he's made the Challenger Tour. I don't even know if he's made the ATP. But he said he actually lost money that year with expenses for tennis and tournaments and food and travel, and he actually lost money. He said he made money only by YouTube, having the YouTube channel and having his his sponsors that sponsor his videos. So, maybe that's part of it too. Some people just don't have the money to get into a lot of tournaments to work their way up. So I don't know, maybe I know they can't just pay everybody, but maybe there's to get everybody to come around to all these tournaments, but maybe there's some kind of way that they can, I mean, the cost can just get cheaper somehow. I don't know. I guess maybe if that national system is a thing, could have more regional tournaments maybe, and then just have a big national, and maybe it would be easier on the players with traveling or something like that. I don't know. I know tennis is not AAU, but it's kind of similar where you got the tournaments and then you got 4 big tournaments. And, it's not like a season like basketball or baseball where everybody's in a league and it's like you got these people all playing tournaments. And it's like, oh, I'll go play in this tournament. Oh, I'll go play in this tournament. It's obviously the AAU's not getting paid. Well, I think there is NIL in high school, but I don't think AAU players get paid. But anyways, I just think it's interesting that someone that good was, in a sense, so far away from getting into that tournament. But maybe he doesn't deserve it in a sense. Maybe he hasn't done enough as far as being a pro player, which I guess he hasn't. But I guess just is there a sense where it's almost impossible for him to, as far as getting into these tournaments and working his way up? Is it almost impossible to work his way up through these tournaments? Because he's not playing the type of competition that would work his way up. But I don't know. I would have to look more into it, but I mean, it could be completely fair. Thank you for listening to anybody that listened, and have a good one.